Hi everyone, Nubkeks here. We're back on the Shadowlands beta today, and we're going to be talking about a couple of big updates to some of the core Covenant features that came in this week's beta patch. So the biggest thing we're going to look at, of course, is the Soulbinds. But to look at the Soulbinds, we of course need to look at the kind of slightly reworked Renown system first. So Renown, you could think of this as it's kind of like your Heart of Azeroth levels, or your artifact weapon levels from BFA or Legion, respectively. This is essentially the level that's going to increase every single week. There will be a hard cap on what you can get up to, and there's going to be catch-up mechanics as well. But they're going to unlock perks, some perks that are very, very impactful and some that are cosmetic with each level of Renown. If I cycle through these and show you a few examples of what you're going to get here, you can see that there are 40 levels of Renown. On the beta, we're just automatically put at level 40. But you know, the first level, you don't really get anything. You unlock your first Soulbind though. At level 2, Renown 2, you're going to get 2% stamina. Renown 3, you're going to start unlocking more rows on your Soulbinds. We're going to come to Soulbinds in a minute, but bear this in mind because this is very important. You're going to get an adventurer at Renown 4, which is like your mission table stuff. Renown 5, you're going to get another chapter of the Kyrian campaign. Renown 6, you're going to get the Halo of the Harmonious, which is, I believe, one of the first Covenant armor set appearance items. Your unrated PvP item level is going to increase at Renown 7. Renown 8, you're going to get another campaign chapter, another row of the Pelagos Soulbind tree, and then you're going to get upgrades to Clea, and then etc, etc. So I'm going to just cycle through these. You can see there's fun stuff like a Hearthstone, Adventurers, more campaign chapters. I think this is a legendary, actually. Soulkeeper upgrades. There's lots of stuff in here. Your World Quest item rewards are going to go up, etc. And yeah, I'm just going to sort of cycle through these, and you can take a look at them. You can pause the video to read them if you want to. Because while I'm doing that, I want to explain how to get Renown, right? How do you get Renown? Well, right now, it seems like, and again, because we start at level 40, it's difficult to tell, but it seems like you're going to get Renown in two different ways. So the first way is there's 2 weekly quests as part of your Covenant that will give you 1 Renown each, and then on top of that, whenever you do a chapter of your Covenant campaign, you'll also get an extra Renown as well. So in other words, I think what we can say from that is that it's likely that you're probably going to get 3 Renown per week, so long as you've got a Covenant chapter coming up that week. And then once the Covenant chapters are done, you're probably down to 2. Now, if I cycle back, you guys who were watching probably noticed, yes, a Covenant Renown rank 22, that is where you have the final chapter of the Covenant campaign begins. So the way I'm looking at it is, this is, again, these are rough numbers. This could easily change. Obviously, they just updated this stuff this week, so this is very, very subject to change. And I suspect that making sure that this stuff is working the way they want it to is a big part of why they delayed Shadowlands, on top of also finishing them all. But yeah, okay, so we start at level 1, so that's 21 points. If we're getting 3 Renown points per week, that's going to take us 7 weeks to get to Renown 22, which is also when we get our 3rd Soulbind, right? That's 7 weeks. And then after that, there's going to be 18 points left. If we're only going to be able to get 2 points per week after that, it's going to take us about 9 weeks. So in total, that's, you know, you're looking at about 16 or so weeks here, I think, to unlock all of this this Covenant stuff to get up to rank 40, where you're going to get your title, you're going to get this mount over here at rank 39, etc. Yeah, 16 weeks. It's about 4 months, guys. It's about 4 months to fully unlock this stuff, which is kind of crazy. And as you can see, we're going to be looking at the Soulbinds in a second now. For example, it's not until Renown 34 that you're going to unlock actually the final row, and for example here, Clea's Soulbind tree. So there's a lot of power that's tied into that. Let's actually run over right now and let's look at the Soulbind so we can put this stuff in context for you. But yeah, we also don't know what the catch-up mechanic is going to be yet. But Blizzard have said that they want to catch up. So we'll see. And obviously for people that swap Covenants, the catch-up mechanic should be there as well, so that you can just grind your way up, hopefully fairly quickly, to the Renown that you would be at. This is our Soulbind matrix. You can see, I kind of want to show you this. This is a pretty cool effect when you open this thing. Look at this. It's very cool, right? Very cool. I like it a lot. But this is your Soulbind tree. And here is an example of a sort of a path that you could take through the Soulbind tree. In fact, if I unlock one now, let's actually go through the Forgelight Prime Mechanicos right now. Actually, before we go through Forgelight, I take it back. Before we go through that, let's look at Pelagos really quickly, because one of the massive changes Blizzard made this week, if you guys have seen these Soulbind trees before, I haven't really done them on my channel because I feel like they are still fairly work in progress, and this is part of why, but they just, in this patch, swapped the top trait with the bottom trait for the tree, for all of the trees, and then they buffed up a lot of traits if they weren't going to be powerful enough. So this is kind of insane, because obviously, if I bring this over here, this is roughly speaking when you're going to be unlocking stuff as you go. So again, if we assume, a not unreasonable timer for, let's say clearing the mythic raid, let's say like 3 months. That's, 3 months is a very reasonable amount of time to clear through the mythic raid. At 3 months, you're only going to be in at about Renown. You're going to be in probably more so Renown 30, actually. Yeah, you'd probably be closer to that. But, you won't necessarily have finished this. And certainly for a lot of your raid progress, you won't actually have these final rows. You might not even be close. Again, Renown 22, to even unlock Mechanicos over here, to even get this guy at all, you've got to be pretty far into that campaign. You've got to be pretty far in. That's 7 weeks at least of grinding. That's almost 2 months. That's quite far into raid progress before you could even think about using him. So swapping the end to the top and the top to the end is really going to change up the balance, because these are things you're going to have from the very start. So for example, with Pelagos, Combat Meditation, where using your Covenant ability is going to give you a big mastery buff, and then also expel these sorrowful memories, and you can walk through these memories to extend the effect by 3 seconds. You now get this as soon as you get the Soulbind. Whereas they moved Let Go of the Past, where you're going to get 1% versatility for 10 seconds whenever you use a spell or ability. If it's not a repeat of the previous spell or ability, it gives you another percentage stack up to a max of 5%, so long as you're not repeating any spells. So very good for some specs, like Windwalker Monk, where you're doing that anyway, for example, and very bad for others, like on like a Frost Mage, where you're spamming Frost Bolts. But you sort of get the idea there, right? And they've swapped this with every single one. So for example, you can see with Clea, Valiant Strikes here, where you and your allies' critical strikes give you stacks of Valiant Strikes up to 40, and then at 40 stacks you heal yourself for 10% max health, and you heal up to 4 nearby allies for 5% of their max health over 10 seconds. That was formerly going to be at the very bottom of the tree. You wouldn't get this for frickin' ages until Renown 34, which is probably 3 months or so into the expansion. You're now going to get this as soon as you unlock her. Which is week 2 of the expansion. You'll get access to this, and then you're not going to get these things until the end. I suspect that they might switch some of this stuff around to make it more appealing, but there's sort of the rough idea. Or again, with Forgelight Mechanicos, you get Bronze Call to Action, where after using 90 damaging or healing spells and abilities, your next spell or ability will summon Brawn, who knocks enemies back on arrival and then attacks or heals your targets for 30 seconds. Kind of cool. So if I show you just like unlocking and going through the tree here, so let's go over here. We'll grab a Potency Conduit. So these are things that are going to up your damage. I can slot those in. You're going to see that we have this thing called Conduit Energy now. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this. Essentially, you're going to start off, or you can have 10 Conduit Energy banked up. And whenever you change a conduit, it's going to spend one of your conduit energy points. And these only recharge every 24 hours. However, whenever you learn a new conduit, this should hopefully work. It should also... Yeah, okay, there we go. It does work. It will actually refund a point. So when you get a new conduit, or you hopefully upgrade the item level of the conduit, and you want to then stick it in, it should have upgraded it, and you're going to be okay. Okay, so we can go grab a Potency Conduit there. We'll grab the Forgelight Filter then. When reduced below 35% health, your File of Serenity automatically heals you, consumes the charge. Cool. Or grab a Finesse slot. These are things that are going to help with your utility, so make getting more move speed out of Aspect of the Cheetah. Sure, slot that in. There we go. We're going to be spending 2 Conduit Energy to put these in. Casting and receiving healing has a chance to improve the durability on your armor, or reducing fall damage by 20%. Sure, let's reduce fall damage by 20, and if I do take fall damage, damage I take is reduced by 20% for 15 seconds. Might be able to exploit that in like a Wrathy Basin or something. That could be good. We'll grab an Endurance Conduit here. Exhilaration heals me for more max health. Sure, I'll slot that in. And then I guess I'll go for Potency over here, and we'll finish off with the Soul Steel Clamps. After 5 seconds of standing still, incoming stun and incapacitate durations reduced by 30%. Lasts for 5 seconds once you start moving. And I'll stick this in here, which is for survival. That's fine. So we'll click apply conduits. It's going to consume 4 energy points. Okay, wow, we're almost out. And there you go. Now I can switch between these trees at any time. No problem. I can switch between them. That's totally cool. And it should work. It hasn't been working all that well for me, but it should work that your path through a tree will be saved to your different specs. So for example, I could go to this potency conduit and down here and this way, and then over to this finesse conduit to get to the end. And that could be my marksmanship path. But then I might be saying, okay, for my survival hunter, I don't really care about the potency conduits, but there's some finesse. Like, I'd love this extra movement speed on survival to stay in melee range more, or something, whatever. I could go in for survival and have my path set up to go to this finesse conduit. And then I'm going to go, okay, well, I'm going to be PvPing. I'm going to want some endurance conduits to be a bit tankier. So I'm going to have that. And then this path will be saved to survival. So that as soon as I just switch to survival, it will go to this path. When I switch to marksmanship, it would automatically go back to this path. And that would be fine. Now, one thing you can't do is say, okay, let me grab another potency conduit here. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Here's a great example. So what you cannot do, unfortunately, is say, well, I want to go this path with marksmanship and survival. Will it save my survival potency conduit here? And then when I switch to marksmanship, I could switch it out and have my sharpshooter's focus, my marksmanship thing in here. That doesn't work, okay? That does not work. If I put the marksmanship conduit in here, when I switch to survival, it's still there. You have to spend your conduit energy to change that. I kind of don't like this, to be honest. Like, for me, I'd rather just you're able to just freely switch whenever you want. Like, whatever, make a new tome thing for scribes to make that let you change this on the fly. So that is unfortunate. Though, again, you can go back right now. There is also no way to change your path on the fly, but you can come back to your Covenant Sanctum. And as you can see, I can change my path through here. Like, no problem at any time. I can choose a different path. That doesn't matter. That doesn't affect anything. So yeah, that's sort of how the system is looking right now. You're going to get these conduits just from lots of the different content that you're going to be doing. You can look up the different ways you're going to be able to grab these. Again, I expect it's going to be slightly subject to change. There's a few that are sort of more PvP focused that you'll get from PvP. You'll get some from dungeons, some from the raid, etc., etc. Again, I in my opinion, that stuff's still quite work in progress right now. But that's sort of how that's working, right? That's sort of how that's working. This Wowhead article shows you, because it will be faster to just show you this. This shows you, again, you can look through this. I'll link this in the description. This shows you what the path was previously looking like and now how it's been reworked. So there's Pelagos. We can see the same thing with Clea, how it's been flipped on its head. And we just saw that in-game and Braun. And you can check that out with your different covenants as well and see the different paths. So, for example, if we looked at the Plague Deviser Marileth, they actually haven't flipped his things, but they have then buffed this ability to make up for it. So that's sort of what's going on there. I can see lots of stuff. It's just all being flipped around. The paths are changing, etc. And also, of course, the Renown rework came in, which is what I was showing you here. So this stuff, there'll be a lot of old info on this as well. This has changed. And again, I really am expecting this stuff to continue to change a fair amount over the next little while. But that is, broadly speaking, what's happening with the Soulbind system and how you're going to go through and choose your path. I'm very curious to know what you guys think. Yeah, I'm very curious to know what you guys think. It could certainly happen that because you're unlocking like different rows at a time. So for example, you know, at Renown 10, I've got the 5th row here. I don't get my 6th row with Pelagos until Renown 21. I might want to switch over to something like Clea for a little while because she's going to get her 6th row at Renown 18. So perhaps in that week, it might be better for me to go into Clea and play for her as the raid, for the raid or whatever. I think that's a little less likely now due to these sort of capstone things coming at the start and being so powerful. I think you're going to be more likely to pick your Soulbind for your spec based off of these capstones. So that's certainly an interesting change that's happened this week. But yeah, it's certainly intriguing. I'm going to put another link as well, which is not currently updated, but hopefully will be updated soon, which is the Soulbind calculator. This will let you go through and actually see what all of the different abilities do, even if you don't have the beta and you can't go on and look at them. So for example, we go and look at the Night Fae. As you can see, this stuff is not updated yet. It's not updated to this flipped version that we're supposed to have. So when we're looking at like Naya here, you can see it's the old version. It's not the new version. So that's something that will hopefully come soon. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Hopefully Wowhead will go and update that soon so that you guys that are not in the beta could just, look through this at your own pace and sort of figure out which ones are looking good for you, which one you're going to use for which spec, and so on. But yeah, I think that is enough for this video just to cover. Let me know any questions. We might come back, and what I'll probably do is do, like, again, closer to launch, do reviews of the different Soulbind trees. I don't want to do a big review of these trees right now because they could easily come back like they did this week and completely flip everything on its head. Literally flip it on its head. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the Renown system as well. Are you interested in it? Are you a bit worried? Whatever. Let me know, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.